Welcome to the morning show. Morning Spring is live right here on Western Spring Television. This is where we ship the discourse, going on around the country. This is where we bring you abreast of situations happening around you through the newspaper review segment, where we give you and serve you the headlines making the faces of some of the dailies available to us at this time, and then to bring you quality analysis from the mouths of diverse and array of political analysts, public opinion shapers, and all of those things. My name is Timito Payajijalaluola, and this morning this is the second installment of Morning Spring on Western Spring Television. It is Tuesday, 24 February 2026. The days are fast running. I mean, the month is almost gone. The month of February very soon will be in March. But then do not forget that Ramadan and Lent is still very much, going on. And let's respect people's, privacy and beliefs at this time. All right, welcoming you to this morning show super delightedly. And beside me is Femi. Good morning, Femi.
Thank you, Tokwe. Good morning. Good morning, our dear esteemed viewers. Welcome to Morning Spring. This is Tokwe. The second installment for the weekend. We are set to hit the ground running. My name is Olufemi. I'd like to welcome you to the show. Good morning.
All right, so different things happening around us. It was like over the weekend, it was the elections, and then, we talked about that yesterday, and probably, well into, the show today. That's what we'll be, spotlighting, and several other things, going on around. There's still tension in judiciary, a lot of probing going on around. There's still insecurity. These are the things we need to be mindful of and keep talking about. Let's keep being on these matters so that, we can have respite. The people who are the helm of these affairs would hear you and, put into effect things that are supposed to be done. And that's why we need to keep the discourse, going on. Lots of things around that will be hitting the brakes at this time, and so that we'll get into the newspaper review segment. Stay with us. You're welcome back to Morning Spring. This is Western Spring Television, and it's newspaper review time. Tuesday, 24 February 2026. We begin with the Nigerian Tribune this morning. And the banner headline here says, Lagos Airport fire, 6 injured, 14 trapped, persons rescued. All right, let's take that again. Lagos Airport fire, 6 injured, 14 trapped persons rescued. Inferno started from server room. That's according to FAN. Airspace temporarily closed. Airport reopens. There's been lots of fires and inferno. It started with the single market, and then another of the markets also. And now it is at the airport. Lots of these things are happening at this time. 6 persons have been injured. 14 persons, 14 trapped persons were also rescued. Well, we're not seeing casualty figure here, and I hope that it stays that way, so that, this will not, be worse news than it already is.
And I think this is a call to, all of us. This is a dry season, and it's very important that we are very careful and conscious of how we get to keep things, like especially when we're leaving home, ensuring that all electricity gadgets are turned off, and, it's a period of being very conscious, because all this issue of blaze and all that is just a little spark somewhere that will just boom and become so big and wide. And that's why every day we should be careful and conscious and ensure that we tidy up things before leaving a particular place, be it from office to our houses, or from our houses to the office, or from our shops, those who go to markets and all that, because once an error occurs in your own space, it can affect others, and that's why it's very important. We're very careful and conscious.
Yes, and because this started at the server room of the airport, it might also be very important for us to note that when we have naked wires around us, it's something we need to be abreast of. Begin to work on it quickly so that things will not get out of hand quickly. Right below the nameplate, just above that story, Jenkos cry out, lament 6.2 trillion naira debt. Remember yesterday, Femi, we're talking about this 6.2 trillion naira, and saying that the federal government slashed it, to 2.8 trillion. Yeah. And so Jenkos are out there today crying out, lamenting the 6.2 trillion naira debt. Yeah. All right, on page 2, we will establish state police, Tinubu reaffirms. We will establish state police, Tinubu reaffirms. Says Nigeria out of the woods.
As you read that, what came to my mind is how long?
Will it take?
This administration it's already 3 years in the go, and for how long do we continue to wait for the establishment of state police?
I mean, since
this has been the clamor of Nigerians, especially in the southwest here. Let's have state police. Let's have state police. Even the northern governors have welcomed the idea, kind of a thing, so that talking about the arguments is state police know the structure of each state and they could go into nook and crannies. State governors can control this and give them orders on what to do. And, well, I think, as I used to say, we'll keep fingers crossed. This is like the 3rd year into this administration, and we're still saying that we will establish it. When? Is it when the first term in office is almost done and elections are close by that we'll now start finding ways to settle that, or what? These are the questions we need to ask and get answers to.
Yeah, well, just, some months recently, few months past, or almost a year now, that was when the agreement really came, because the agitation was hitting too hard. The pressure was really much on the federal government to allow for the establishment of state police. Yes. And then through that agreement, we've been hearing, words of affirmation in that we're going to have state police. We're going to establish state police.
Beyond the affirmation, let's have it real.
That's what I'm trying to get to about the fact that more than it's been said, the thing should be, the groundwork should be laid. I believe that at this time, before we're having another reassurance from the president, groundworks have been laid, and it's just implementation that, we're yet to see. But then, the rider is more troubling than that. Like says Nigeria out of the woods. Out of the woods of what? Insecurity? Oh no, it's still very much there. And as a matter of fact, there has been no major developments, talking about curbing of insurgency in that regard. So Nigeria out of the woods. Just yesterday, was it Yobe?
That was killing.
No. Talking about that, issues of the issues of warning, from bandits,
the bandits about 100 million.
We're going to come, if there's no pay us 100 million, or we're going to attack you. And so, words like that does not show that Nigeria is out of the woods. Well, out of the woods of what?
Maybe it's another, just as you said, maybe it's another kind of wood that we need clarity about. However,
all of to get details of that too, you can see on page 2. But when we're having a word like we will establish state police, Nigeria is out of the woods, you can easily deduce what is being said. But the details of that story is there captured on page 2 of Nigerian Tribune this morning. All right, just below the banner headline there, El-Rufai files 1 billion naira suit against ICPC. Others alleges unlawful invasion of residents. Alleges unlawful invasion, of residents. Page 4, lead exposure. Ogun screens 500 Ogijo residents. Lead exposure. Ogun screens 500 Ogijo residents. That's on page 4. Executive Order 9 aligns with the Constitution, doesn't amend PIA. That's according to DG Budget Office. Executive Order 9 aligns with the Constitution, doesn't amend PIA, according to DG Budget Office. Page 27 of Nigerian Tribune has that story there. So the top strip of the paper, just above the nameplate, bandits kill 10 in Plateau. And Bauchi villagers flee to Gombe. Bauchi villagers flee to Gombe. Adamawa GOC escapes ambush in Kebbi. Troops kill 5, recover arms. After troops killed 5 of them, but after the bandits had already killed 10 in Plateau. But says here, GOC escapes ambush in Kebbi and troops kill 5, recover arms. Page 16 says, Odige Oyegun Owe in power tussle over Edo South ADC leadership. Odige Oyegun Owe in power tussle over Edo South ADC leadership. Page 16 has a story. On page 3, operations of Plateau mining site were released after I left office. Operators of Plateau mining site were released after I left office. Mine also reopened via me, ex-minister of solid minerals. These are the headlines right there captured on the face of Nigerian Tribune newspaper this morning.
All right, moving to the Punch newspaper this morning with the banner headline here on oil revenue roll. Presidency defends Tinubu's legal titan split over executive order. You can check details of that on page 2 with the riders here. Petroleum Industry Act violates Nigeria Constitution, says presidency. NBA OPS backs Tinubu as critics push against oil revenue reforms. SANS divided over president's directive. And the details of that you can find on page 2. Just beside the banner plates there, alleged genocide. U.S. Congress panel submits Nigeria reports to Tinubu. U.S. Congress panel submits Nigeria reports to Tinubu. On the upper strips there, we have this fresh loans. FG domestic debt jumps to 77 trillion naira. FG domestic debt jumps to 77 trillion naira. With the rider here, 11 states, FCT borrowed 373 billion naira in 9 months despite higher allocations. Okay, more beside that, still on the upper strip, we have convention. APC may settle for Yelwatda Basiru. APC may settle for Yelwatda Basiru. You can check details of that on page 22. There below the banner headline, we have this: Lagos International Airport Inferno grounds passengers, packed travel chaos. Lagos International Airport Inferno grounds passengers, sparked travel chaos. Below that, we have Genco's dumb presidency's 2.8 trillion naira debt deal. Genco's dumb presidency's 2.8 trillion naira debt deal. Check details of that on page 24 there of the Punch newspaper this morning. Crushes last man officer. 2 motorcyclists to death. A very sad one there. Truck crushes last man officer. 2 motorcyclists to death. FCT poll ADC candidate obedience rejects results. I think we're going to check details of that when we get to the talking points. You can check the details of that report on page 22 of the Punch newspaper. These are some of the headlines you can find on the front page of the Punch newspaper this morning.
All right, moving on to the Guardian newspaper. The banner headline: Election campaign spending to stress test CBN's Naira inflation grip. Election campaign spending to stress test CBN's Naira inflation grip. That's on page 6. Amnesty demands end to killings, accountability as death toll rises. Amnesty demands end to killings, accountability as death toll rises. Futility of building $1 trillion GDP on hustle economy. Futility of building $1 trillion GDP on hustle economy. Right. Agbakoba lauds Tinubu's executive order, says it will aid fiscal sovereignty. All right, 40% lack access to indigenous language education globally. 40% lack access to indigenous language education globally. Enugu fixes 150 million naira mandatory advert permits for 2026-2027 elections. Beside that, U.S. Treasury official in Abuja as federal government sources bicker over ransom payment. U.S. Treasury official in Abuja as federal government sources bicker over ransom payment. All right, so that's very interesting. But the details of that, you can check it out on the Guardian newspaper. Sit at home. Soludo shuts another market in Nnewi. Sit at home. Soludo shuts another market in Nnewi. Right, so the top strip of the paper below the nameplate. Flights diverted. Lagos airspace temporarily shut over MMIA Terminal Inferno. Right, Murtala Mohammed International Airport Terminal Inferno. Page 3 of the Guardian has that story. Executive Order 9 enforces. Executive Order 9 enforces existing constitutional provisions, says federal government. Peace Committee wary of vote buying, violence in Ekiti polls. Peace Committee wary of vote buying, violence in Ekiti polls. Well, Ekiti polls are very much upon us. And then this is coming that the Peace Committee is wary of vote buying and violence in that polls. Right, those are the headlines right there making the face of the Guardian newspaper this morning.
All right, coming to the Nation newspaper this morning with the top story here. State police can't wait. Tinubu tells governors. State police can't wait. Tinubu tells governors on the upper strip. Release of 7.2 trillion naira capital component of budget 2025 begins. Release of a 7.2 trillion capital component of budget 2025 begins. Executive order on oil gas remittances into Federation account lawful. Executive order on oil gas remittances into Federation account lawful. You can check that on page 3 of the Nation newspaper. BRT fare to go up by 13%. That is on page 30. Ondo governor seals deport $4 billion fertilizer plant deal. That's on page 7. El Rufai issues ICPC for 1 billion naira. That's on page 4. On the downstrip there, still on the Nation newspaper, we have this. APC inaugurates think tank. That's on page 4. Suspicious price movement raised the alarm at stock market. You can check that on page 2 of the Nation newspaper this morning. These are some of the headlines as you can see them on the page of the Nation newspaper this morning.
All right, that's statement about we are out of the woods is featuring right here again on the Nation newspaper and saying we're out of the woods, we're out of the dark tunnel of uncertainty. The economy is showing up. Let's help those unemployed. The economy is showing up. Let's help those unemployed. That is on the Nation newspaper right there. All right. On the Sun newspaper this morning, the banner headline there says tension in judiciary as NJC probes judges. Tension in judiciary as NJC probes judges. Okay, petitions flood commission against judges. Petitions flood commission against judges. To the bottom strip, APC bars groups from buying presidential nomination forms for Tinubu. APC bars groups from buying presidential nomination forms for Tinubu. Sit at home, Soludo shuts down another market for 7 days. 6 injured as fire breaks out at MMA International Wing, Lagos, and has this rider. Right, British Airways, Emirates, Lufthansa divert flights. Honesty comes at high cost in Nigerian public service. Ex-Governor Seriake Dixon. Honesty comes at high cost in Nigerian public service. Ex-Governor Seriake Dixon. Right, about that, below the nameplate, home invasion, El-Rufai files 1 billion naira suit against ICPC, IGP, others. Nigeria out of the woods, says Tinubu. Nigeria out of woods, says Tinubu. Assures and state police to tackle insecurity. Assures and state police to tackle insecurity. And those are the headlines right there on the Sun. And just as I read that statement, well, it was talking about the economy. So we hope that that out of the words is talking about the economy. But whichever one it is, whether the economy or insecurity, the people are yet to feel the direct impact of the growth or, the betterment of the economy and, security. But those are the headlines we have right there, making the face of the papers this morning as available to us at this time. All right, so many talking points. Insecurity, tension in judiciary as NJC probes judges. Remember, just a while ago, there was the NBA leadership was talking about how some judges, are being said or allegedly being bought by some certain people. Several issues. Remember, Jenkos are still lamenting the slash in their money. They're saying that we reject it. We're going to have none of that. And then the major issue now about the inferno at the MMIA, Murtala Mohammed International Airport Terminal, and how several flights have been grounded, diverted. A lot of chaos around travel. People who are supposed to make some urgent trips, somehow those trips, have been either diverted, delayed, all of such, issues. Remember that people are still injured, several others still trapped and have been rescued. So a lot of issues around there.
And the aspect of the fresh loans, the FG domestic debts jumping to 77 trillion naira. Imagine. And even state governments are accomplice to this, despite the fact that the allocation has increased. State governments are still borrowing.
Power, the purchasing power has also gone up. The purchasing power is now very, very low. Whatever it is that you're earning, the purchasing power is a lot. It's very terrible seeing that. And that's why we keep saying that the people are yet to feel it, because they still go to the market.
Exactly.
The wares are still very expensive. Product prices are expensive. Transportation is expensive. A lot of these issues are recurrent. And then all of those issues. But we hope that we can have, respite from this. We can have the economy going good, the health sector going well, people moving around freely without fear, of, being kidnapped or being killed, all of those issues. But then we keep talking about it, and we talk about it as it is right here on Western Spring Television. It's still Morning Spring. This quick breather while we return and move into the conversation. Stay with us.
Those who masterminded the way it happened will have to pay a price.
Enjoy Western programs. Project